They called him the millionaire no woman dared to touch. But when one fearless girl broke the rule, what happened next left everyone in shock. Stay tuned because you're about to watch a beautiful story and find out what happened next. Hello, family. Welcome to Tales Haven. Kindly subscribe to my YouTube channel for more beautiful stories. Thank you as you do so. Sit back, relax as we dive into the story. In the bustling city of New York, there were many wealthy men, but none carried the same mysterious power as Alexander Reed. His name alone was enough to silence conversations. His presence could stop people mid-step. To the public, he was a symbol of success. To those who worked under him, he was untouchable. Alexander was only 34 years old, yet he had built an empire of glass towers, luxury hotels, and global investments. Newspapers called him the young giant of Wall Street. His picture often appeared on business magazines, showing him in perfectly tailored suits, his jaw sharp, his eyes cold, and his expression unreadable. But behind the articles and glowing reports, there was a story that people whispered about in hallways and coffee shops. It was said that Alexander Reed had once been warm, once laughed like any ordinary man, but something in his past had turned his heart into stone. No one knew exactly what it was. Some said it was betrayal. Others believed it was loss. Whatever it was, it left him unreachable. Inside his company, Reed Enterprises, his employees lived in constant fear of displeasing him. If Alexander walked into the lobby, conversations died immediately. Secretaries lowered their eyes. Even senior managers straightened their backs and prayed not to be noticed. At board meetings, his voice was calm but firm, leaving no space for arguments. His gray eyes scanned every person at the table as if he could see straight through them. No one dared to interrupt him. No one dared to ask personal questions. The women in his circle admired him from afar. He was strikingly handsome, with broad shoulders and a commanding presence. But every lady who had ever tried to catch his attention walked away humiliated. Some said he didn't even look at them. Others said he gave them a glance so cold it could freeze their hearts. Because of this, Alexander became a legend. Parties were filled with laughter and chatter, but whenever he entered, silence followed him like a shadow. He didn't flirt, he didn't dance, and he never stayed long. People began to say he was not just rich, but untouchable, a man locked in a tower of his own making. One evening, as he left a business gala, a young woman whispered to her friend, "He has everything money can buy, but he looks like he owns nothing that matters." Her friend nodded, eyes fixed on Alexander's retreating figure. "That's why no one dares go near him. Every lady stays away." And it was true. For years, Alexander Reed lived in his own world, admired but untouched, respected but feared, wanted but never approached. What no one knew was that his life was about to change. For someone was on her way into his world, a young woman bold enough to stand where no one else dared. And her arrival would shake everything he thought he knew about himself. The morning after another silent evening for Alexander Reed, the glass doors of Reed Enterprises opened to welcome a new employee, Sophia Carter. Sophia's heels clicked softly against the polished marble floor as she stepped into the grand lobby. The building itself was intimidating, with high ceilings, modern art hanging on the walls, and men and women in sleek suits moving quickly as if every second was worth millions. She stopped for a moment, clutching the strap of her handbag and taking in the atmosphere. Most people would feel nervous, even overwhelmed, but Sophia's heart carried a steady rhythm. She had seen struggle long before she ever saw a glass tower. Born and raised in a small town in Ohio, Sophia was no stranger to hard work. Her father left when she was 10, and her mother raised her and her younger brother by juggling shifts at a diner. Sophia studied late into the night while working weekends at a grocery store. She earned a scholarship, graduated with honors, and now, finally, here she was, standing at the heart of Manhattan, ready to prove herself. As she approached the reception desk, she noticed how people carried themselves, shoulders tense, eyes down, conversations hushed. Every so often, the elevator chimed, and whenever it opened, all eyes flicked toward it nervously. Good morning, Sophia said with a friendly smile to the receptionist, a middle-aged woman with tired eyes. The woman barely looked up. Name? Sophia Carter. Today's my first day. The receptionist typed quickly, handed her a visitor badge, and pointed toward the orientation desk. HR is waiting. Don't be late. Sophia thanked her politely, though she caught the sharpness in the woman's tone. It wasn't personal. It was fear. Everyone in this building seemed to carry it like invisible chains. She didn't have long to wonder why. The elevator opened again, and this time, the air in the lobby changed. Conversations died instantly. Even footsteps slowed. People straightened their backs, some lowering their heads. Sophia turned her head just in time to see Alexander Reed step out. He was taller than she imagined, his black tailored suit fitting like it had been designed just for him, which most likely it had. His expression was calm, unreadable, his gray eyes sharp as steel. Two assistants followed him, trying to keep up with his pace, carrying files and tablets. Sophia watched as people around her shifted uncomfortably, refusing to meet his eyes. A young woman standing near the reception even stepped back, clutching her phone nervously. But Sophia didn't move. Her eyes met his for the briefest moment. It wasn't planned. She didn't flinch or look away. She simply looked at him, directly, naturally, the way one human being looks at another. Alexander's step slowed for half a second. No one ever held his gaze. Yet this young woman with a visitor badge and a calm smile had done it without hesitation. The assistants noticed the pause, but Alexander said nothing. He simply adjusted his cufflinks and continued toward the private elevator that led straight to the top floors. Sophia exhaled quietly, unaware that she had just done something no one else dared to. A young intern, rushing past her, whispered under his breath, "Are you crazy?" You looked him in the eye. Sophia blinked, a little amused. "And what's wrong with that?" The intern shook his head quickly and hurried off. Sophia smiled faintly to herself. She didn't understand yet why people feared him so much. But something about that man's eyes, cold and lonely at the same time, left an impression on her. And though she didn't know it yet, that simple moment, just a look, was the beginning of something that would change both of their lives forever. By noon, orientation was over. Sophia Carter had a new ID badge clipped to her blazer, a slim laptop, and a seat on the 12th floor in a row of desks that ran like a quiet river beside tall windows. The view showed a slice of the Hudson and a line of traffic glinting in the sun. Inside, the mood was careful. People spoke in low voices and typed fast. Her team lead, Mia Collins, a woman in her late 30s with neat hair and alert eyes, set a stack of folders on Sophia's desk. "These are for the South Harbor acquisition," Mia said. "We're preparing the final package for Mr. Reed's afternoon review. You'll assemble the binder, tab every section, and print an executive summary. Deadline." She checked her watch. 3:45. Delivery to the executive floor before 4. "I can handle it," Sophia said. Mia nodded, studying her face. "Two things. 1. Do not use the private elevator. That's for Mr. Reed and his directors. You'll take the East Bank to floor 59 and walk down the hall to the executive reception. 2. When you deliver, keep it brief. No small talk. Place the binder, confirm receipt, leave." "Understood," Sophia replied. At the next desk, an analyst looked up. "You're delivering to him on day 1, he whispered, half impressed, half worried. "Lucky me," Sophia said lightly. He forced a smile. "Name's Tyler Brooks. If any printer jams, use 12B. It behaves better." Sophia got to work. She read each document, not just the headings. Purchase terms, environmental reports, a lease schedule for the retail units by the water. She flagged items that would matter to a decision-maker, a liquidity clause that allowed the company to pause payments during a severe market drop, a penalty for construction delays, and a set of community agreements that promised a public park and affordable units. As she worked, she built an index page with clear labels, A through H, and added short one-line notes under each tab to guide the eye. She didn't know if Mr. Reed would ever notice, but it was the way she liked to do things. Clean, clear and respectful of time. By 3:20, the binder felt solid in her hands, black leather, gold rings, tabbed and tight. She printed the executive summary in large, readable font and slid it into the front sleeve. At the bottom of the page, she added a small line, prepared by S. Carter, Admin, Ops. Not a signature, not a boast, just accountability. As she packed the binder, the intern from the lobby appeared at the end of the row with a delivery cart. He gave a sheepish grin.
Hey.
You're the brave eye contact person. Sophia laughed. I'm Sophia.
Noah.
Noah Green, he said, glancing at the binder. You're going up? In 5 minutes. Noah lowered his voice. People say not to look around too much on 58. It's so quiet you can hear your heartbeat. I'll keep mine soft, she joked. Mia returned with an access envelope and a plastic badge cover marked exec-rec. Clip this over your ID so security waves you through. Take a breath before you go. I'm fine, Sophia said and meant it. Nerves fluttered at the edge of her stomach, but focus sat in the center. She took the East Bank elevator. As the numbers climbed, 27, 33, 41, she felt the building change. The chatter faded, the air cooler. At 59, the doors opened to thick carpet and a hush that felt like a library. A receptionist's desk stood at the end of a wide corridor. Behind it sat a woman in a gray blazer with a professional, still face. Good afternoon, Sophia said. Delivery for Mr. Reed, South Harbor. The receptionist checked a screen. You're expected. Place phones on silent.
Keep to the right.
Executive reception is down the hall, last door on the left. Sophia followed the soft light down the corridor. Along the walls were quiet art pieces, ocean photographs in pale frames, a black and white skyline. Every step felt measured. She reached the last door, executive reception. Inside, the room was open and bright, with corner-to-corner glass showing the city spread like a map. A single desk sat in the center. Behind it, a tall man with a tablet looked up. Name, he asked. Sophia Carter. Delivery from operations. He nodded. I'm Ava Coleman, he said with a polite half-smile, and then added, Yes, Ava. Parents loved surprises. I manage the floor. You're a few minutes early. Mr. Reed is between calls. Wait here. Sophia stood by the window. From this height, taxis looked like moving pieces of candy. Down below, the river swayed dark and smooth. She took in the space, no noise, no clutter. On a side table, a single white orchid leaned over a glass bowl. The petals were perfect and distant, like the floor itself. A door opened on the far side. A woman with a tablet, Harper Lane, by her badge, stepped out. Mr. Reed will see the South Harbor binder now. Ava gestured. Ms. Carter, go ahead. Sophia walked the short hall to a heavy door of matte wood. Harper opened it for her. Please place it on the desk, Harper said softly. He prefers it there. Sophia entered. Alexander Reed's office was large but spare. Floor-to-ceiling windows ran along 2 walls. The desk was dark, clean, and mostly empty. Just a laptop, a black fountain pen, a glass of water, and a square stone paperweight. There were no photos. No awards on display. Just a clock on the wall with a thin second hand. Alexander sat behind the desk, jacket on, tie straight, sleeves unrolled. He looked up. The room held still. You're new, he said. His voice was calm, the same tone he used in the lobby. Not unfriendly. Not warm. A neutral line across deep water. Yes, sir. Sophia Carter, she answered, stepping forward. South Harbor package, final assembly. Index by tabs A through H. Executive summary in front. I highlighted the new addendum to the community agreement under tab F. She set the binder on the desk with both hands, squared to the edge, and kept her posture steady. She did not hover. She did not fuss. Alexander glanced at the cover, then at the tabs. His eyes moved in quick, expert beats. You assembled this? Yes. What's an F besides the addendum? He asked, not looking up. The community benefit schedule, she said. A breakdown of the park maintenance commitment and the affordable units. 30 allocated, with a review after year 3. The addendum clarifies the maintenance cap. He flicked the tab open to check. Cap is 200,000 annually, tied to CPI, she replied. Overages require joint approval. His eyes lifted for the first time. They were as clear and cold as before, but focused now, interested. And D, he asked. Financing, she said. Terms, draw schedule, and a liquidity clause triggered by a market drop of 15% based on the 3-month moving average. He closed the binder gently, the way one closes a book they intend to pick up again. Noted. Silence stretched, not tense, just full. Sophia could hear the faint tick of the wall clock. She took in the room without turning her head, the order, the air, the view. Everything in place. Everything controlled. He reached for his pen. You can leave it. She nodded and took one step back. Her eyes landed, for half a second, on the edge of the desk. No framed photo, no personal item. Just the pen, the paperweight, the water. She thought of the elevator full of people who wouldn't look up, of the lobby that fell silent when he entered, of the way his gaze had met hers that morning and wavered for a heartbeat. She didn't plan what came out next. It arrived honest and simple. For someone this powerful, she said softly, your office is very quiet. The pen paused between his fingers. She kept her voice even. I added an index and short notes under each tab to save you time. If it helps, I can do it this way going forward. Another beat. He set the pen down, parallel to the desk edge. Who asked you to add the notes? He asked. No one, she said. It just seemed useful. A muscle moved in his jaw. More thought than anger. Most people don't volunteer changes. I don't like wasting minutes, she said. Yours or mine? One corner of his mouth almost shifted, but didn't. He looked at the binder again, as if seeing it differently. Then he said, Thank you, Miss Carter. It wasn't warm, but it was not empty either. It was acknowledgement.
Real.
She turned to go. At the door, she stopped, spoke without facing him, choosing her words with care. Power isn't the same as company, she said, gentle, not pitying. If you ever want me to prepare these in a way that makes your work lighter, tell me. I'll handle it. Then she left. The door closed with a soft click. In the hallway, Harper watched her pass, surprised by how calm the young assistant looked. Most first-timers hurried out of that office as if they'd been holding their breath. Harper glanced toward the door, then back at Sophia, and for the first time added a name to a mental list. Carter, study. Back at the central desk, Ava raised an eyebrow when Sophia reappeared. All good. Yes, Sophia said. All good. She didn't add anything else.
She didn't need to.
She took the East Bank elevator down. When the doors opened on 12, Noah was waiting like a kid peeking into a theater. How was it? Quiet, she said and smiled. Did he say anything? He said thank you. She set the empty binder case on her desk and pulled out her notebook for new tasks. That's enough. Across the floor, Mia watched the exchange and hid her relief behind a sip of coffee. Nice work, she said when she reached Sophia's desk. Any issues? No, Sophia replied. He asked 2 questions about the tabs. That's all. Mia's eyes widened a fraction. He asked 2 questions? Yes. Mia nodded slowly, impressed, then moved on. Work resumed. Keyboards resumed their quick rhythm. The afternoon slid toward evening. Up on 58, Alexander didn't move for a moment after the door closed. The room held the shape of the conversation like steam cooling from a cup. He opened the binder again, less to read than to see how it was built. The tabs were crisp. The notes were short and precise, free of fluff. The executive summary was direct. At the bottom, a single line, prepared by S. Carter, Admin, Ops. He set the paperweight on the summary and leaned back in his chair. The city glowed beyond the glass like a distant constellation. He reached for his pen, then didn't. Old habits said to ignore the person who delivered the thing. New habit, or the start of one, told him to remember the work. He pressed the intercom. Harper. Yes, Mr. Reed. The South Harbor package. Who assembled it? An admin from operations. Sophia Carter. A brief pause. If she's assigned to deliveries again, route executive packages through her. She's efficient. Yes, sir. He ended the call and looked at the door where she had stood. The room was the same, still, spare, controlled. And yet it felt a degree less empty, as if someone had opened a window in a place he had convinced himself didn't need air. He picked up his pen at last and wrote a single note in the margin of the summary, Review F, Maintenance Cap/CPI. The handwriting was steady. The second hand on the wall clock kept its soft circuit. Somewhere 12 floors below, Sophia turned a page in her notebook and listed the next tasks. On one line she wrote, Exec style. Tabs plus notes worked. Not for praise. For pattern. For building something she could be proud of. Neither of them knew it yet, but a quiet line had been drawn between the office at the top and the desk in the middle, the kind of line that starts as work and becomes something else. A way of seeing, a way of speaking, a way of being less alone. 2 days later, an email from the executive floor landed in Sophia Carter's inbox. From Harper Lane. Subject, Riverlight Gala Materials. Please assemble Mr. Reed's talking points and donor brief for tonight's Riverlight Foundation Gala. Courier to floor 58 by 5:15 p.m. Black folder. Tabs plus notes, same style.
HL.
Sophia sat up straighter. The Riverlight Foundation funded parks, river cleanups, and youth programs, the same community promises listed under Tab F of the South Harbor deal.
This was not just a party.
It was the public face of everything the company said it cared about. She pulled files, donor profiles, last year's results, press clippings, the program schedule, even the list of volunteers from the Youth Sailing Club. She mapped the night on a single page. 6:30 arrival/press photos. 7:10 welcome remarks, MC. 7:20 Mr. Reed's remarks, 3 to 4 minutes. 7:30 video. River at night, 90 seconds. 7:35 dinner service. 8:20 auction lots. Under each item, she added tiny, useful notes. Who to cue, who to thank, and one short line of purpose. She built clean donor cards. Name, 2 key facts, 1 personal note. For Lydia Park, she wrote, lost her father to a boating accident, funds swim lessons. For Evan Bloom, quiet donor, hates the spotlight, give thanks off stage. At 4:55 p.m., Mia Collins stopped by Sophia's desk. You're doing the gala prep? Yes, Sophia said. Talking points, donor brief, run of show. I'll take it up by 5:15. Mia looked relieved.
Good.
If they ask you to stay on site, go. You have my sign-off. By 5:10, the black folder was ready. Tabs A, H. A crisp index. Short notes under each tab. At the bottom of the summary page, prepared by S. Carter. She slipped on her coat, grabbed the folder, and headed to the East Bank elevator. On floor 58, the corridors were as quiet as she remembered. Ava at the central desk lifted his eyes. You're becoming a regular. Trying not to make noise, Sophia said, smiling. Noise is overrated, he replied, then buzzed Harper. Harper met her at the door to the corner office suite. Thank you. He's on a call. Leave it on the conference credenza. Harper paused, then added in a lower voice, stay reachable tonight. If something slips, we'll need fast hands. I'll keep my phone on, Sophia said. As she set the folder down, Alexander Reed stepped into the doorway between rooms.
Jacket on.
Tie perfect. The same exact stillness as always, until his eyes landed on the tabbed index. You did the notes again, he said. Yes, Sophia answered. 3 points for the speech, 1 optional line if the auction runs long, and donor cards in the back sleeve. I flagged 2 sensitive guests with it. He opened to the talking points. 3 bullets. Why tonight exists. The river belongs to all of us. What the funds do. Access plus safety, parks, swim lessons, cleanup jobs. Who makes it real? Donors plus staff plus city plus kids. Beneath a plain sentence. And with thanks to the crew who set the room. They work after the lights go down. Alexander's eyes paused on that last line. Most people don't think to include the crew. Most people don't see them, she said simply. He looked at her a second longer than usual. You'll be at the venue? If needed. Be there, he said. Back of house. If the schedule slips, adjust it with the MC. Clear changes through Harper. Understood. He closed the folder and gave a small nod. Not approval exactly, trust in a cautious shape. The Riverlight Gala took place at the Hudson Crown Hotel, a glass tower with a ballroom like a lake of light. At 6:15, Sophia slipped through the service entrance with a lanyard that read Event OPS. She checked in with the MC, the lighting tech, and the floor manager. She taped a tiny run-of-show to the back of the podium and handed the spare to the stage manager. She tested the handheld mic. She confirmed the video file with AV. She counted the auction paddles with a volunteer, 50 tables, 10 people each. At 6:28, black cars began to arrive under the porte-cochere. Guests flowed toward the photo wall. Photographers shouted names. Dresses flashed. Diamonds caught the light. At 6:31, the room changed. Voices softened, heads turned. Alexander stepped through the main doors alone. He wore a black tuxedo, simple and exact. No pocket square. No splash. Just the clean line of a man who hides in the open. 2 steps behind him, Harper carried a slim tablet. The ballroom seemed to shift around them, giving space without getting close. Sophia stood beside the soundboard, headset on, clipboard in hand. She watched as women looked at Alexander from a safe distance, admiration edged with fear. A line from The Office hummed back to her. Every lady stayed away. At 7:05, she slipped around the room checking cue points. She greeted the Youth Sailing Club at table 12, kids in borrowed ties vibrating with energy. She reminded the MC of the 90-second video runtime. She told a waiter captain to hold salads if the welcome ran over. She was no one important, yet the show moved more smoothly because she cared. At 7:18, with the room seated and lights soft, the MC stepped to the microphone. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Riverlight Gala. Sophia watched the clock. 7:21, cue for Mr. Reed. She nodded to the stage manager. The manager gave the MC a gentle hand signal. Please welcome a leader whose commitment keeps the city's river open to all, Mr. Alexander Reed. Applause rose. Not wild, respectful, reserved. Alexander walked to the podium, notes left behind. He kept his eyes a shade above the room, calm as stone. Then, almost without thinking, he glanced to the back of house. Sophia stood there, still, headset wire tucked behind her ear.
She didn't smile big.
She just gave a small, steady nod. You know why you're here.
Say that.
Alexander touched the edge of the podium and began. Thank you. We're here for something simple. The river belongs to all of us. A soft quiet fell over the room. He spoke without flourish, just clear steps across a short bridge. Tonight, the money you give becomes real things, safe parks, clean water, lessons that keep kids afloat. It becomes jobs for people who want to work and pride for neighborhoods that deserve to be seen. He paused, eyes catching, for a heartbeat, on the youth sailors at table 12. It becomes the sound of a 10-year-old laughing on a dock. He closed with the line Sophia had written, but made it his own. When the lights go down, the crew will still be here, making this room disappear. Thank you to them. Thank you to our donors. And thank you to the people who do the daily work that never makes a stage. Applause came warmer now.
Real.
He nodded once and stepped back. As he passed the curtain, he said to Sophia in a low voice, Good notes. Good delivery, she replied. The video rolled. Dinner service began. The room loosened. Laughter returned. But the distance around Alexander stayed. Women glanced his way and then looked elsewhere, as if a line had been drawn on the floor that no one wished to cross. At 8:07, a small problem flared. The auctioneer's mic cut out with a sharp pop. Heads turned. The room wavered. Before panic could grow, Sophia was already moving. She grabbed the backup handheld, checked the switch, and slipped through the tables. She reached the stage steps and lifted the mic toward the auctioneer with a calm, Use this. The room exhaled as the new mic came alive. From the rail at stage right, Harper watched Sophia work. He leaned toward Alexander and said quietly, That was her. Alexander didn't answer. His eyes followed Sophia as she blended back into the dark edge of the room, not chasing credit, only restoring order. The auction rose and fell. Hands lifted. Paddles flashed. Money turned into promises. When the last lot closed, the band slipped into an easy rhythm. The dance floor filled with donors. Alexander walked the perimeter once, short nods, brief thanks, and then drifted toward the balcony doors, where night air pressed cool against the glass. Sophia hesitated, then followed. She wasn't chasing him. She was checking the flow. That was her job. Still, when she reached the door and stepped outside, she knew this was more than an ops check. The balcony overlooked the river, black, steady, alive. City lights trembled on the water. "You kept the program tight," Alexander said without turning. "You kept the room with you," she answered. He let out a breath that wasn't quite a sigh. "Crowds are easier than people." "People are just crowds one by one," she said. He glanced at her then, a little sideways. "That's not how it feels." They stood in a quiet that didn't hurt. Music pulsed through the glass. Laughter rose and fell behind them. On the street below, a siren moaned and faded. Sophia looked at his face, the careful line of it, the discipline pressed into every inch, and saw what she had seen in the office and in the lobby. Strength first, then loneliness hiding underneath like a shadow under a table. "You hide behind a wall," she said softly. "But walls are meant to be broken." For a heartbeat, nothing moved. Then a gust of wind lifted the edge of her hair. She took one step closer, still steady, still sure. "Everyone here is waiting for you to stay away," she said, voice low. "Every lady in that room is afraid to be the one who tries."
I'm not.
She rose onto her toes and kissed him. Not long, not loud, but clear. A real kiss in a real place, alive with air and risk. Through the glass, a few faces near the door froze, eyes wide. A whisper swirled and spread like ink in water. The band played on, unaware for one more measure, and then the music seemed to lean toward the rumor that had already begun. Alexander did not pull away. He didn't grip. He didn't perform. He simply let the wall fall an inch and met her there, at the one small opening she had made. When she drew back, his eyes were not cold. They were searching, as if finding names for new weather. "You're not afraid of consequences," he said. "I'm more afraid of wasted chances," she replied. Inside, movement shifted, the way it does when a room decides what it has seen. Some faces turned away, pretending not to notice. Others stared. A few smiled like they had been waiting for a play to start, and finally, at last, the curtain moved. Sophia didn't look at them. She kept her eyes on his and kept her voice calm. "Go back in when you're ready," she said. "Or walk for 5 minutes. Either is fine." "Walk," Alexander said, surprising himself. They moved along the balcony, side by side, the city opening and closing below them like a slow tide. Behind the glass, the ballroom reset and tried to pretend nothing had happened. But something had. A clean, bright line had been crossed, and no one, least of all the man called Untouchable, could pretend otherwise. When they returned to the door, Sophia touched the frame and stopped. "From here, it's your pace," she said. "I won't push." "You already did," he replied. There was no anger in it, only truth, and something warmer. He stepped inside first. She followed, a half step behind, not as a shadow but as a presence. Conversations faltered, and then resumed. The world did what it always does after a shock. It kept going. At the edge of the room, Harper met his eyes. Alexander gave a short, unreadable nod. Harper tucked a reaction behind his tablet and moved the program forward. A minute later, the band shifted into a gentler set, the lights dimmed a fraction, and the night found a new shape. For years, every lady had stayed away from Alexander Reed. Tonight, one fearless girl broke the rule, cleanly, openly, and without regret. And nothing, not the lights, not the money, not the careful stories people told about him, looked exactly the same anymore. The rest of the gala unfolded with its usual rhythm, but beneath the polished surface, whispers followed Alexander Reed and Sophia Carter, wherever they moved. Guests tried to mask their curiosity, speaking with polite tones while their eyes darted toward the balcony where they had seen what no one thought possible. By the time dessert was served, the story had already begun to take a life of its own. The untouchable millionaire had let someone close. Alexander remained composed, as he always did, yet something in his presence shifted. His usual distance was softer now, less of a wall, more of a guarded gate. When donors approached to shake his hand, he thanked them with words that sounded more genuine than rehearsed. He even paused by the youth sailors' table again, asking one boy about his first time on the water. The boy stammered, then grinned, and the table erupted in cheers. From the back of the room, Sophia watched quietly, headset still looped around her neck. She wasn't trying to be seen, yet she noticed Alexander's eyes drift toward her more than once, as though he wanted to confirm she hadn't disappeared. When the evening finally closed and the last guests trickled out into the night, Sophia slipped outside through the staff exit, relieved to breathe the cool air. She pulled her coat tighter, prepared to walk toward the subway station. Leaving without saying goodnight? A voice asked. She turned. Alexander stood a few feet away, his tuxedo jacket unbuttoned now, his tie slightly loosened. For the first time, he didn't look like the man on the magazine covers. He looked human. "You usually leave before anyone can," she said softly. He studied her, his face unreadable at first. Then his voice dropped lower. Tonight was different. Instead of calling for his car, Alexander gestured toward the sidewalk. "Walk with me." They moved through the quiet streets of Manhattan, past glowing shop windows and the distant hum of traffic. For a while, neither spoke. The silence wasn't heavy. It was thoughtful, like both were measuring what the night had meant. Finally, Alexander broke it. "Do you know why people stay away from me?" Sophia glanced at him.
Fear.
Reputation. Stories they tell each other. "It's more than that." His jaw tightened. "Years ago, I trusted someone with everything, my plans, my heart, my future. And they turned it into a weapon. Since then, I decided distance was safer. Safer for me, and maybe safer for others too." Sophia slowed her steps. "You built walls because you thought being untouchable would keep you from breaking." His eyes flicked toward hers. "And yet he hesitated, almost unsure of his own words. "You didn't stop at the wall." She gave a small smile. "Because walls don't scare me. What scares me is a life without meaning." They paused at a street corner where the light blinked red. Alexander looked down at her, seeing not fear, not greed, not calculation, only honesty. And for a man who had lived surrounded by masks, that was a shock deeper than the kiss. By the time they reached the company's tower, the streets were nearly empty. Alexander stopped at the front steps, where golden lights reflected against the glass doors. "I don't let people walk this far with me," he said quietly. "Then maybe that's the problem," she answered. For a long moment, they stood there, the city humming around them. Then slowly Alexander extended his hand. Not as the untouchable millionaire, not as the feared CEO, just as a man offering connection. Sophia hesitated only a heartbeat before taking it. His hand was firm, warm, real. Inside the building, security guards pretended not to notice, but their eyes widened. The rumor that had begun at the gala would now travel farther. Sophia Carter was not just another assistant. She was the one who walked beside him. Weeks turned into months. Sophia continued her work at Reed Enterprises, but now she carried responsibilities others envied. Alexander requested her presence in strategy meetings, not to speak for him, but because he trusted her perspective. Slowly, the staff noticed that their CEO began to change, subtle things at first. He greeted employees in the elevator. He lingered a moment longer in conversation. He laughed once, and it startled everyone in the room. Still, the most shocking change was not what Alexander did in public, but what he allowed in private. He allowed Sophia close enough to see him tired, close enough to hear him admit doubts, close enough to learn that beneath the empire was a man who simply didn't want to be alone. One spring evening, as the city lights glimmered over the river, Alexander and Sophia stood on the balcony of his penthouse. The same river that had once symbolized distance now shimmered like a path leading forward. "Do you regret breaking the rule?" he asked softly. Sophia leaned against the railing, her eyes steady. If every other woman stayed away, maybe they were waiting for the one who wouldn't. No regrets. He looked at her for a long time, then reached for her hand again, not hesitant this time, but certain. And in that moment, the name Untouchable Millionaire no longer fit him. For Alexander Reed was not untouchable anymore. All it had taken was one fearless girl who refused to stay away. That brings us to the end of this video. I hope you find this story worth watching. If you do, kindly subscribe to my YouTube channel for more beautiful stories. Your support and engagement encourage me to post more videos. Thanks for watching.